What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Coaster Talk. Once again, an episode with the man himself, Hersheypark enthusiast, who will
What's
be
up?
spamming this all over his channel.
I
And
will.
Matt, also known as, you want to go by In-Up Drip on, what do you want to shout out? Instagram or?
Let's go with Instagram, yeah.
All right, Instagram, and he'll be spamming this all over the Discord because YouTube is not pushing out any of my content after being banned twice.
We
You're
love
probably
that.
seeing it from one of those two sources. Anyway, these are two people, along with many others, that attended the Wildcats Revenge construction tour. And as promised in the video that came out prior to this, we will be going over pretty laid back but semi in depth on everything that happened. And then in the end, we'll talk about East Coaster, the private event Hersheypark hosts for surrounding parks and whatnot. So, Matt, just a quick description. How would you describe East Coaster before we get into what the tour was about?
So East Coaster, a lot of people might think it's like boring or whatever, but it's actually really fun. You get a lot of free stuff. There's like door prizes and whatnot, but it's really fun to like sit there and like listen to what everybody has to say about their parks and whatnot.
I think it's interesting that parks come and they present. It's kind of like a presentation maybe you would do at school or like a college seminar, but it's for different surrounding amusement parks
Yeah.
hosted at Hershey Park, which is super neat. So that's a bit of what we will get into after we go through the tour, what you guys are probably all here for, and what we're here to tell is how a bunch of coaster nerds got invited to tour a construction site or an active construction site to Hershey Park's newest roller coaster. So it's from my understanding that Hershey Park does this, or they have been doing this as they've been a partner with Ace, or Ace endorses them for a while, and they did it with Candemonium and whatnot. And so as a new coaster this year, it would be Wildcats Revenge, and they offered the construction tour. And I got it in my monthly newsletter, and so basically I asked Matt, and I'm like, "Yo, you're going to this?" Because it was on your story, and I'm like, "This is like a thing, right?" And I asked you all about the membership and whatnot,
Yeah.
and then I bought the membership, and then I was trying to max out how many guests I could take.
Yeah, Michael just like you absolutely carried. Like, thank you so much. Like, without you, I would not have been able to go to the tour and would not be on this podcast. So, yeah, huge thanks to you, man.
Dude, I think I got it to like 7 or 8
I
guests,
think
and
you
then
did.
and then
Yeah.
Matt and
Like
I was
that.
like, I'd sent a video to Matt, and I'm like, is this too much? And you were like, maybe. And then I was like, I don't know, I'm not trying it because I can't find 8 people to
It was
take.
funny. As soon as you were I think you were texting me about who all you were taking. And the day after Ace said, like Ace posted on their story, like, all right, we're officially limiting the amount of guests you can
Yeah, it
have.
was
And I
like
was like, I think that was Michael. I think
I
Michael
think I ended up taking
alone.
4 guests. I took my one friend who computer savvy, super computer genius, tried to get Grant's old Instagram back. If you guys remember
Oh
that from
yeah.
like a really long time ago. Then my other friend, who got accepted to Penn State University for space engineering and whatnot, probably will be
Dang.
like in NASA in the next 10 years or whatnot. So and then there was Grant. And then I think
Like
I had one more
you have
extra
like
ticket.
software, you have like really cool software tech geek, you have like NASA engineer, and then there's just me.
And coaster nerd.
Yeah.
And so basically, what happened was we got the tickets. We waited like the month and a half, and it finally became the day. And oh my gosh, my friend comes in and we're talking about this, and it's like 24, 26 degrees out.
Oh,
Legit
it was so
feels like
cold.
it legit
Oh,
feels
it
like
was
17 out.
it was
So,
so cold.
It was
So
so
James was
bad.
taking some pictures, and you can actually see in the one picture my hands kind of photobombed because I was like holding my camera. And mind you, my camera has like a all metal rig around it, so it was even colder. But like I couldn't wear gloves because I didn't have camera gloves. And you can just see from that picture James took how absolutely red my hands were.
Like
Like
they're
I
almost
could not hold
purple.
them. The bad part too is my camera, because I got a weird camera. Basically, it doesn't have in-body image stabilization, so I had to hold it so still while like trying to fight to jitter. It was so bad, but entirely worth it. But oh my word.
Entirely worth it. And it was I would do it again. I think I ended up having 6 layers on top, and
Yeah.
then
Jesus.
3 or 4 layers on the legs and whatnot. And so my friend Steven, the tech geek and whatnot, he shows up in like a little windbreaker and a sweatshirt, and I'm like, Steven, what are you doing? And he's like, what? I'll be fine. And we're there, and he's like, I'm not fine. I'm like, yeah, I look on it. It literally says it feels like 17 out, and the entire tour
Good
was.
with technology, not good with preparing for the weather.
Yeah. So anyway, we get there. It's absolutely freezing out, and we sign in. And what was super cool is you get to see just an aspect of Hershey Park that you would never get to see if you aren't
Yeah.
employed there. So we basically get to see this aspect of Hershey Park that like only employees would see of Hershey Park. So we check in where employees would clock in, and we see this table and whatnot, and we get our little lanyards. Grant and I, because he was my guest, we ended up being in group C. Matt
Yeah.
ended up being in, you were group D, I think, right?
Yes.
I
My
ended up,
lanyard
Literally the
broke the
smallest
second.
group.
My
yeah.
lanyard literally blew off. Like the
I kept mine in my pocket. I planned on stealing it, and then they were pretty good. They knew what we
Yeah.
were up to, our silly antics. Yeah,
Yeah,
Matt
I
I
had
got
mean, I
my.
felt
I
bad,
still
but
have
after
my
the
lanyard.
tour,
you still do.
Because we got lanyards from East Coaster.
Oh
um,
yeah. Yeah, Matt
Yeah.
ended up only having like what, like I mean we passed you guys as you were coming in. You guys had what, like 20 people in your group?
If that, yeah.
yeah, it was
Our group was
Dude,
small.
I
small.
saw Matt and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be pumped. But like, I feel like the one-on-one time and getting into this, the one-on-one time with the people that we got to meet was valuable.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I learned a lot personally.
Yeah, and asking questions and the logistics of it all too. Not rushing myself and getting to the Q&A part, but like the logistics of it being in like such a small group. I think what we probably had 40ish people in our group.
Something like that. Yeah, that sounds about
Yeah.
right.
The groups before us were miles bigger. I was doing a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of
No, they were
research
huge.
just to like see this and whatnot. Yeah, Group A was like it was filled to the brim in that area, and
Dang.
Wow.
they were actually just like moving around. They were in like a little bubble. Um, and the second group, I'm not really sure. I haven't really seen anything from that, but watching videos and seeing people and talking to people who were in Group A, it was really like shoulder to shoulder and whatnot. So I know we stressed out a couple other people, like James in our group, and I
Yeah,
was stressing how we have to wait to do this, and that ended up paying off because we were in a smaller group, which was super nice and super cool to see.
I really like the
Yeah.
smaller group aspect. Like yeah,
And that's what made the tour so like personable too, because you had not only one-on-one time, but it was almost peaceful. If you're at an amusement park, I can guarantee you've never been to an amusement park when it's dead silent and you can hear
yeah,
camera shutters going off. Like at this
Yeah.
event, it sounded like click 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 because you could
yeah.
hear
It was.
everybody's shutters going off.
I
Never
really enjoyed
again
it
will we
personally.
ever feel that at an amusement park.
Right. I really enjoyed it because yeah, like as you said, it was a lot more peaceful. And like for me, like a lot of the time, and especially this year because I'm trying to get a lot more footage, but like half the time when I'm at the park, like yeah, I'm riding rides and stuff, but like maybe I'm like saying hi to friends or whatever, running back and forth to the end of the park. I mean, it's a blast. I'm not trying to say like I don't enjoy doing that, but like I'm I'm doing something like I'm rushing from and the back of the park and I'm trying to get footage, but just to kind of just be there and like just take in the vibe of the park when like nothing else around you is really
Yeah.
happening and like just focus in and like hone in on that ride and just like people in awe of the construction of that ride was just something really cool and it's just kind of remind like it just kind of I don't know, it's like it felt like this is what parks are about
You
if that
felt
makes
at
sense.
peace almost. I don't know. It
Yeah.
sounds cliche and it sounds cringy and it sounds stupid, but it's like if you're a coaster nerd or just somebody, I guarantee you that you have never been at an amusement park when it was dead silent.
Yeah.
And just that feeling, like I said, it's almost it feels at peace. But it's also like you were saying, you're surrounded by people who want to be there and people who share the same passion, or people who are
Exactly.
just miles smarter than you, and
Right.
because of that, they can adore and like appreciate what you're looking at.
Right.
And
Not to be sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
no,
you
you're
there, but
fine.
not to add to the cringe even more, but it's almost like a rock concert. Like everybody there wants to be there,
Yeah.
and the vibe of everybody wanting to be there enhances the
It's
overall
just
vibe for everybody, that it's
it's
just this
cool.
hype train.
And then
And like with a regular amusement park, like you're walking around and like you're gonna walk by enthusiasts. But for the majority of the time, you're gonna be walking by GP, and you're gonna be walking by, families where like the dad is yelling at the kid, "Hey, don't run over there!" Or like
People
Kids are
you're
just
gonna
people
crying.
who don't know how to walk.
right.
Yeah, kids
You're
are
gonna
crying.
you're
You're
gonna
getting
walk
hit by
past
strollers. You're hearing people screaming
exactly
on coasters. People are swearing. It's not
right,
toxic. It's a hectic environment. And so
right. But with
walking
this, it's just like you're surrounded by
by
people who are
piece.
like you. You feel like you're understood. This is sounding really
Yeah.
cringy. I'm gonna stop talking.
No, you're good.
It's peaceful almost, but it's like
Yeah,
um,
it's like therapeutic.
yeah, but never again, unless like working at the park. But even then, never again will you experience Hershey Park at that scale and that magnitude, such a big place. It looked like a ghost town. And some of the
The
pictures I posted in my original video, it's such a surreal and odd feeling, and something that you didn't know you needed until it happened.
the only time that it's ever been that quiet or empty would be I stayed to 11 one time for Dark Nights, and I think I just gotten out of Haunted Coal Mine or something. Or
Yeah, it
no, no,
gets
no, sorry, it
really
was
quiet.
Creature. Yeah, it was Creature Chaos, which that dumps you out right by Storm Miner, Trailblazer, that area,
Mhm.
Pioneer Frontier in that area. And there was just nobody there. It was just fog, and I think they turned off the music or something in that area,
Now
so it was
that would
just
be
silence.
creepy.
That was creepy. It was really cool
That
though.
would
It
be
was
cool.
really cool. Yeah.
So
But that was the only other
continuing
time.
continuing our tour in a dead quiet 40 group, 20ish group park. Hershey Park is, we're in these groups. We start heading our way around. If you guys don't know, we entered through gate 7. That's the workers entrance. It's right where the western looking buildings are and where the arcade dome is. You enter between the arcade and the claw, I would say, for reference.
Yeah.
Anybody who went to Christmas Candy Lane 2019 while they were constructing
Yes,
Candemonium,
that's where
because
you
of all
enter.
the construction happening, yeah, with Candy, they couldn't have you enter through the main entrance, so it was right by there. So anybody who went to Candy Lane 2019, that's where you entered. So that's that's the employee entrance.
Yeah, I meant to bring that up. Thank you for remembering that.
Yeah, no
Anyway,
problem.
I didn't even know that.
yeah.
You're good. I'm just hey, I have nothing else to do with my life, so
No,
That's
I
fair.
remember those days. 2019. Those
that
are
was a
the
good
the
year.
fun days.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's when I was starting to become an enthusiast.
yeah. So we took that entrance. We immediately hooked a right, walked past the arcade, hit up Fahrenheit. We stopped there for a tiny bit. Our group really wanted to take some pictures. On the way up, they said fine. The
Mhm.
guy talked to us. We had some pretty valuable conversations. But this is when I was trying to hook my way up to the front with my 3 friends, and Grant and our other friend James and another friend Joey were up near the front, and this is when we were just trying to meet up with them. So in the time it took from Fahrenheit to Wildcat, this is where you just you got to take in your surroundings, and that's where all that peace and it just that's what we were talking about before, how quiet it was. We had a lot of park to cover to get to one spot, and I thought it was interesting how at the beginning of the tour he was like, all right, start walking up to Wildcat.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, you're being monitored, but it's just like you're alone, and it's so cool.
Right.
And I feel
Uh,
like I
I
remember one
think
of
I
the
saw you guys taking pictures. I mean to cut you off here.
yeah, go for
Um,
it.
Howler, like all like their gondolas and everything was off as well, and part of the
Yeah.
fence was out.
Yeah, it's off-season maintenance and stuff. It's so cool to see and whatnot.
Like you never see it, but it's there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were working with Fahrenheit's third train, which is encouraging because
I feel
They've
like
been
it
doing
was
that all
uncovered,
year.
and Fahrenheit got new banners too. I don't know if anybody else picked up on
I
this.
did not
yeah,
see that.
I think I might have noticed that. I mean, I forget what they look like.
They're super bright. I like them.
hmm Okay.
Well, we walk up to Wildcat, and they stop us at the station. This is where the tour started to get super, super promising because, granted, none of us knew what we were in for, and on the email it said, wear shoes that don't mind walking in rough terrain and getting dirty and whatnot. So this is when at least I thought, and I know a bunch of other people thought that
Yeah.
this was going to be like an active tour. Um,
Right.
Yeah.
so we go up by the station, and this is where they explain to us why they're building a dual station, unload and load station.
Yeah, this was really interesting.
And
They also explained why they're doing the maintenance warehouse.
yeah, and why logistically that's going to help them and whatnot. So what they explained, and these guys can help me out and fact check me or chime in and anything I'm missing.
And
Basically,
I'm not 100% like I don't remember word for word everything. I tried to kind of like soak it all in as fast as I could and like comprehend it because I was like, all right, this is my one chance to know everything I want to know.
yeah.
But I still don't remember like word for word. But yeah, so anybody watching, like I'm gonna be that guy again. Take this with a grain of salt, but this
Nice.
is roughly what they said.
So basically, what he explained to us is that this is like Candemonium will have a separate storage area, which means that the trains will never have to leave the location that is the actual layout of Wildcat's Revenge. If you look at any other coaster, or the majority of the other coasters in the park, for a big example is Comet and Skyrush, a lot of work has to be done to relieve those trains and get those trains off the track and to a separate facility, or like Skyrush, either be put in the queue line, which has to have multiple uses, and be put in the other locker area.
Skyrush has a storage shed too.
For one train.
Yes, for one
Right.
train.
Yeah.
So the other
Yeah.
one
They
has
don't.
to
They
be
don't have
disassembled
both
and whatnot.
trains.
Yes.
Right.
So he
I
said,
believe Great Bear. Great Bear has a storage area too.
yes,
Yes.
other
for both trains. So he said that the logistics of this, the spot that Wildcat is in, it just makes it so much more useful and so much more logical. I can imagine that it was a mistake maybe to ever get the Wildcat trains, the location of the station, get the trains off the track into a separate
Yeah.
area.
Absolutely.
I can see why this would be a very, very smart idea. Now, after this, I ended up asking a question, and I think it was along the lines of, is it possible to use just the load station without the unload station? And they said
I
straight
think
up
so.
no. They said straight
Yeah.
up no, at minimum 2 trains,
Yeah, it always has to run with two trains.
which
So
I think
that'll
is
be
super
one for
good for
interesting.
load, unload.
capacity.
That could be good if we don't end up stacking. Because if it's like, if I think
Yeah.
this is a
Candy
double-sided
stacks
sword,
like crazy.
but this
It
is
shouldn't
worse
be
than
able to
candy.
stack.
This is going to be worse than candy, only in the cases that we're experiencing a staffing issue. Because a big problem, I think, is going to be the amount of staff that this ride is going to take
Yeah.
to actually run properly and run smoothly.
I
What
don't know
I'm worried about.
exacts. I believe
Sorry.
it, at least in the station alone. I think it takes a. I didn't. I'm not sure of exacts, but I'm sure it's like 5 or 6 people up there.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
And-
you basically have another lightning racer
Right.
in North without having another lightning racer in North.
And the other thing too is I'm a little bit worried about reliability. If it has to have 2 trains on and say the other 2 trains are having issues, then the whole ride shut down. Like they can't do 1 train ops on that thing. You know,
I mean,
it's like
I'm sure
it's-
they can. It just has a really poor capacity at that point.
Yeah, that
Okay.
would almost just have it closed, honestly. But
Mhm.
at that point, we'll just rely on the other train being in rehab, maybe coming out of rehab.
Yeah.
We've seen how fast Hersheypark can work to get stuff back open. I mean,
Yeah.
I would be willing to bet that within half a week to a week that problem will cease to exist for
Yeah, no.
obvious reasons.
I've talked to some of the maintenance guys. Like some of them have like third shift. Some of them come in at like 5 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like they
Dang.
come in early
Mm-hmm.
just to
Yeah,
get these rides tested and everything.
I mean, this tour kind of gave me a coaster high, and I know it gave Matt a coaster high. And
Yeah.
we were basically at the park for like, him and I accumulated like 5 days in a row or something, because I
Wow.
had 2 more appointments the next day. He was going to East Coaster, and I was there the day before, or a couple days before the tour. So we were like leaving each other updates and whatnot, and we were convinced at one point that there was a night crew because they started the Speed Hill Outer Bank
Huh.
Within like the 14 hours in between the
The
tour
end of
and the
the
end of
tour and
East
beginning
Coaster.
of East Coaster, yeah.
Yeah. so
And
it,
East Coaster, for reference, it started at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
and Matt and I are
Hmm.
like freaking out and are like, wait, they have a night crew now? Like we were freaking out. We were having like a blast, and it was just something so funny, and I thought it was great. So after we finished up at the station, we started to move on, and I thought they were going to work in stations. And so my idea of the tour was that they're going to take all four groups at once and rotate us out through different stations and different what I thought would be focal points of the ride. Maybe being the
Right.
station, one being the
Yeah.
underflip, maybe where the steel truss base was going to go, something like that. Um,
Hmm.
and I thought they were just going to keep rotating us out. Yeah, plot twist, that didn't happen. So the second half of the
Here,
tour, they took us where Laugh Track's little plaza is, to the
the
left of
queue
that.
line for the descent for Dark Knights.
Yes, if you
Yeah,
have
where
been to
the
Hershey
fun sides
Park.
were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's perfect. Right
Dude,
where
the
the
fun
fun slides.
slides were so fun as a kid. All right,
I
sorry.
love them.
Yeah, move on before I
Hashtag
start.
bring the fun slides back. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
So we were in
honestly.
that little plaza. Beautiful view of the underflip. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful view of where the drop is going to be. That is going to be an OP shot.
Mhm.
And at this
Yeah,
point, you
absolutely.
can see from this picture that's on screen, we are behind the second wave turn. So we are like wedged in this little triangle of where Wildcats Revenge is. And like I mentioned in my other video, this is where the Q&A breaks out. And I did a pretty good job, I feel, or I would like to think that I did a pretty good job of describing what the Q&A was like, but now you're hearing it from two other people's perspectives and also my perspective. And now for this next segment, I just plan on nerding out and trying to remember all the questions asked and our answer and thoughts on those questions.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take the initiative here. I'm gonna go first.
Go for it.
Did they talk about how long they wanted this project for?
Yes.
Like they mentioned how like RMC's been trying since like 2018.
Yeah, I think they said 2018 or 2019,
Dude,
which makes
Like
that's
sense.
crazy.
2018 RMC submitted like RMC reached out to them with like a concept and they're like,
And
it's not.
they said no.
Yeah.
I think it was because like not enough versions or something.
They
Michael,
straight up
Like they
you
wanted
asked
rejected it.
more.
actually.
They straight up
You asked
rejected
if
it.
you asked if GCI was close to getting it, and from
They
what
said
they
no.
said,
They were straight up
for
like, hell no, bro. They were like, get that far away. And I thought this was
I
so
don't know.
interesting.
I got a different impression. I didn't get that.
Really?
I kind of got the impression that like they were open to it, but like didn't go with GCI.
I feel
I
like
don't know.
they
So
knew all along they wanted RMC,
no,
but they
they
were kind
did
of just like, yeah, you know what? You're the new kid on the block. Show me what you got. Theoretically,
because
hypothetically, if we were going to go with you. And what they said, because this is fresh in my mind just from editing that video and whatnot, what they said was that they gave them 4 different layouts, all with super traditional to hybrid layouts, which means that they were combining the OG wooden track from Wildcat with their Titan
Huh.
track.
Yeah, that's not a good.
That's
Like you
not
want
good
a
for Wildcat.
hybrid. You
from
need
what
a
I
hybrid. You
remember,
need a ride.
RMC submitted 4 and GCI submitted 2. But GCI it was too close to the previous layout
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't
Yeah.
like it, and they
Mhm.
knew they wanted RMC, but they just didn't know because when RMC officially reached out to Hershey first, I believe that was opening year for Steel
Steve and
Vengeance.
Twisted Timbers.
Yes.
Mhm.
So they wanted to know, okay, what's this capable of, and how
Mhm.
can we improve on that?
He
Like,
alluded to it maybe sounding pretty uh forgettable, something maybe more along the lines of like what would be RMC's version of Joker or whatnot. I think letting
Yeah.
yeah,
please excuse my new kid or new style language. I feel like letting RMC cook a bit longer and seeing what they could come up with kind of worked out in our favor for sure. Because
yeah, definitely.
thinking about this logistically, he didn't say this, but if you know your coasters, they declined, right? So RMC
Yeah,
then moved on to Untamed, and Zadra in the same year, and then right into Iron Gwazi, which is something they had to do while also planning Area Force. This is also already 4 coasters. You got to remember that they were also opening up Steel Vengeance and Twisted Timbers. Steve had issues. They had to go back and redo parts of Steve. Twisted
Right,
Timbers was
structural
fine.
issues.
We're already up at 6 RMCs opening in the span of or 2.5 years.
Yeah,
They also were
it was
opening
just
up
like
Hakuge. So it
Yeah.
was like rapid fire. This was primetime RMC. I think sitting on this coaster a little bit longer may have been the way to go.
yeah, honestly I agree. Like I think Hershey wanted RMC's like full attention. I don't think they like
No, they did.
yeah, like they didn't want RMC to just be like, all right, blah, 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 here's one for you, here's one for you, here's one for
Yeah.
you. Oh, Hershey, here's one for you. Like Hershey wanted it to be like them to take the time to think about exactly what would be the best thing for them and then go with it. And I think they got, pretty close to what would be the ideal RMC.
They got
Oh, yeah.
something pretty good. I think it's better than Area Force. I like the diversity of it a
Oh,
lot
definitely.
more.
It's gonna the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm just like, you know what, that's gonna be a really nice combination of forces.
I think we'll get into this a bit later, but they announced this at East Coaster. They announced the renders at East Coaster, but seeing the renders compared to
Yes.
how the ride's really shaping up to be, it pisses me off how far off the renders were. But it's just getting me
Yeah.
more and more excited because, like, we've only seen animations and we've only seen fake stuff from this coaster. Now we're actually seeing it in person.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, like the real stuff is looking better than the animated. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, of course. That's Hershey for you with this rendering.
One thing I
I-
will say, continuing about like a little Air Force talk, it may be controversial. I think the stall looks too long.
On Area Force?
Cat?
Yeah,
On Cat.
on Air Force.
Okay, I was gonna say. I think the stall.
Yeah, I was gonna say you better not be saying about cat. 'Cause
Cat
No, no, no.
stall. Cat stall
Cat
looks
stall is so short.
underwhelming.
It's
I'm
quick.
sorry. That looks more like
No,
a cutback.
I think it. I think
Yeah.
it'll pull.
I think it'll be
pull.
good. I think it'll be something
Yeah.
like Velocicoaster. I think that in this terms, a good analogy is Wildcat's Revenge stall is Velocicoaster stall, while Area Force's stall is Pantheon stall. I think that's the way we got to look at this.
I think the problem
Yeah.
though here, I don't know, Michael, if you can show video on screen like with
Yeah,
us
heck
talking
yeah.
right now.
What do you want?
Okay, so basically, I think the issue with why cat stall might not be super forceful is because with Velocicoaster, your stall is completely like it's basically straight. It's like almost like an inline twist type stall, sort of. I mean, it's different, but with
The
RMC
RMC stall is
stalls,
more
they're more
arched.
right. They're arched. So what that's going
It's
to end up
basically-
doing
it's
is you're going to get
legitimately-
positives, not negatives, on the stall. Like I was talking to somebody actually who I met in line for Velocicoaster, and he was saying basically, Gwazi stall is the only dead part of the ride, and it feels like you're getting pushed up into the stall as opposed to like dangling from it, if that makes sense.
I think and what Matt said, that's kind of I think why RMC tries to make more exaggerated and more drastic stalls. Maybe like Area Forces, you're trying to get airtime in the stall. Wildcats,
Right.
you're gonna feel that. And I think that's super interesting what you brought up. RMC stalls are literally airtime hills, but you're riding the crest of the airtime hill upside down.
Upside down.
Right.
And that is the best way to describe a zero G stall. Because my one friend who went on the tour, he was like, "Well, you're using on the drive down there." I literally said, "Okay, guys, we have 42 minutes. Every single question you have, I will answer right now." And he's like, "I keep hearing you saying all these names. Wave turn is pretty self-explanatory. What the hell is
Right.
an underflip, and what the hell's a stall?" And I was like, "Okay, that's perfect. That's fine. Yeah, let's talk about it." And like describing the Iron Horse treatment and describing what an RMC is to people, we're so used to it because it's our language where we see them all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a teacher, and we're going to Hersheypark for physics day and whatnot. I had a teacher, and she's like, she thought that Wildcat was still staying Wildcat, and that it's going to be the exact same ride, and this is why you should still continue hating on it. And I'm like, that is
No.
false,
No.
and this is why.
You see, an RMC is when you take
Yeah, so like
steel and put it
RMC
on.
is
What?
a company that is very very this is the way I describe it to people, because I feel like I've had to get so used to describing it to people. I'm like, RMC is a company that has been made famous for doing something called the Iron Horse treatment, which is a conversion of a wooden coaster where you rip off all the wooden track and you put steel track on wooden supports, thus making it a hybrid coaster.
And
This in
changing the
the end,
layout.
this in the end will make it smoother, allowing you to have a much more enjoyable ride, even changing the layout and adding inversions, which, if you didn't know, are upside downies, and then people's mind get blown.
Whoa, loop de loops, bro.
Yeah. So like
Upside downies.
it's always
I
the
like my
funnest thing
upside
ever.
downers and loop de loops.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
me
kind of
too.
like a show and tell. I feel like if you're describing RMC to somebody, or just like coasters that you think are cool in general, like, yeah, this is an RMC. This is what it is, and seeing how they're so surprised and like, wow, that's real. It kind of
Yeah.
gives like us enthusiasts like a sense of satisfaction. I feel like
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
feel satisfied. I don't put down the GP. Whenever I educate the GP, for some reason it's like one of the most satisfying things ever, and I don't know
I
why.
agree with you. I think one thing, and I do have to get rolling pretty soon. I'm very sorry. But I agree with what you're saying. I think so. Like, obviously, like it's fun to pick on the GP sometimes, but I think we as enthusiasts treat the GP as almost like not human sometimes, which I think is a big issue.
Yeah.
And like, like we're like, oh, you heathen, you GP, don't talk to me. I'm not allowed to breathe the same air as a GP. Like,
Something
how
like
how
that.
dare? Right. Like, and I feel like that's not the way we should look at it. I feel like, and like obviously, like it's kind of fun to make fun of, like some of the stuff they say, like the loop de loops and stuff. But like, I think we should be focusing on like just kind of enjoying like talking to them about coasters because like believe
Yeah.
it or not, we were not born enthusiasts.
Mhm.
No.
Like
No,
We
we
it
were
took
learned about it from
born
other
yeah, it took time
enthusiasts.
exactly,
to learn
or
about
we
it.
just went down the rabbit hole that was YouTube and yeah.
Yeah. The,
Yeah.
Um, but
so
like I feel like we should be focusing on like not so much like hey you're a GP I hate you and more about like hey you're a GP allow me to
educate
corrupt
you,
you and yeah
turn your life into
and bring you
coasters.
to the dark side.
Yeah. So for somebody on a time crunch and somebody has to go, let's talk about a few more questions. I have one that was really good, and it's the logistics of building a roller coaster, which as enthusiasts and even as normal people, it's something that you don't think about all the time. And he
Yeah.
mentioned it. It's the fact that roller coasters are built during what are the park's off season. Construction seasons
Yeah.
for amusement parks are during the winter
Mhm.
time, which common sense,
It's a
no
little rough.
brainer, is the hardest time to construct anything.
Yeah, like poor
Yeah.
RMC, like they literally Gwazi, Florida, Air
Fine.
Force One, Atlanta, Pennsylvania in the winter. Like
Yeah.
and it was a warm winter, but still like that.
I mean, there are days that are rough. The entire week leading up to that, it was below freezing, and he's
Exactly.
describing the hardships and how hard it is to pour concrete when it's below freezing and how almost impossible that is. And when
Yeah.
you can't
Like
get the
they
base,
have to make sure it sets correctly.
yeah, and then you
Mhm.
have to redo it. And when you can't get the base of what you're building completed, you can't prioritize or work on anything to then continue that. And
Yeah.
just thinking about the logistics and aspects of that, that's super, super interesting. And he also said that the only thing that could delay this coaster is that weather malfunctions, well, not malfunctions, but weather hindering it, or there's still supply chain issues, and RMC is still looking for workers who can still actively work on this coaster, which is pretty interesting.
So I have no engineering experience with that whatsoever, but if they want to hire me, I am down. I will work for free.
I
Yeah,
like.
they'll love that. OSHA will freaking love that.
I mean, I'm sure you guys saw RMC's like latest posts on all their like socials and whatnot. They're still shipping out track.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're gonna be shipping out track for a while. I feel like, and I feel
I
like
am a little concerned about the timetable for when Cat's gonna open. Like, I mean, I don't see any earlier than 4th of July weekend. Like, just with
I
how
think I might have an
slow.
idea,
I
and
think
I
I'm
got
I'm
this from somebody
I
else.
still want to stick
Okay.
to Memorial Day, but I'm slowly, very, very slowly starting to agree with you. And okay, hang on before you go. This brings me to another point. I know we were at that point, and that is agreeable. They were flying through construction
Yes.
at
They
that
were
Yeah.
point where
flying, and then they
where the
just kind of hit a
construction tour
wall.
was. Yeah. There was almost a consecutive month where we didn't get any new track, and only in the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks of that month we started to see structure being added. there was structure consistently being taken away, which is something they talked about. There's only about 19% now of original Wildcats staying, I think.
Wow.
I believe it
Um,
was 17. That's what I was
oh,
told.
okay. Well, yeah, your number. He just I feel like came up with the number on the spot. But
Probably.
yeah. So what was happening is the 3 weeks leading up to that, these guys are flying. Within like 2 weeks, they get the entire element of the underflip like completed after the park closes, and then the next 2 weeks, which is a month, because this happened a month after Christmas Candy Lane ended, they got the pretty much 3/4 of the wave turn built, and then boom, time for us to go on this tour. And so at that point,
Honestly, I
it looked
think it
so
was.
promising, and it looked like they were flying.
Yeah.
I think it kind of was like they were like kind of gonna take their time and they're like, oh shoot, we have a tour. We got to build something, guys.
I
You know,
wish it
and
was like that, but I feel like it wasn't.
regardless though, I kind of have a theory that they could be working. You know how we like during the tour and you walked by the station, like a lot of the construction zone had spilled out onto the pathway.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that they might be working to get a lot of the station done so they
I
can
think
like
the
clean that
station
part up for
is
opening
in the
day.
90% done. They got the entire maintenance bay completed. I saw by drone.
I'm sorry,
Is
but
that
the
is
roof
that
looks
done
like
now?
Pizza Hut.
Yes. So the maintenance, I don't like it. I think it looks like too much like a warehouse, too boxy. It's pitch black. I don't like the color of it. There's no life to it, and it's gonna
The
like.
roof looks like Pizza Hut.
Not only that, I don't even think you'll be able to see the roof because if you walk up that big hill, you know how you could always see Wildcat's old station, and it was like a nice
Yeah.
touch. Now you're just gonna see a big black box, and I don't know how I feel about that.
I know in the renders, on the side facing like Fahrenheit,
Mhm.
they had a giant Wildcats Revenge sign.
Mhm.
I believe they had a big sign like right in front of the maintenance bay as you walk up the
Yeah,
path.
Wildcat's revenge sign.
So
Okay,
like
so I hope Matt didn't forget about what he was gonna say. So basically, at the time of the
no.
tour, we were all super excited and super consistently thinking that it was going to open Memorial Day weekend. Now into Matt's new theory. Let's hear it.
So I actually got this from one of my other good friends. Just look. I had to go to RCDB just to correct this for me. If you look at the original Wildcat, the one like the 1920s,
Yeah.
the original Wildcat opened June 16th of 1923.
Right.
So if they, I would think if they want to go like a big thing, they'll go for June 16th of this year, marking 100 years since the first Wildcat.
That would be so cool. Wait,
Dude, I
what
got
day is
shivers.
June 16th?
Um,
Hold on, let me ask. Hey
Wait,
Siri, what day is June 16th?
it's
Friday.
a Sunday.
It's a Friday. Oh wait.
Wait,
April, May,
what am I looking?
June.
I-
No,
wait,
it is
hold on.
Friday.
2023.
It is a
Yeah, it's
Friday.
a Friday.
But that would work though.
It would work.
That would work. Like
And
it's
then it would
not
be
like
open
a
for the weekend.
Thursday. Like it would work. Yeah.
I think
Friday,
they.
June-
I honestly think they'll soft open it though. I think that they'll have a grand
Yeah.
ceremony. I think they'll end up soft opening it.
Yeah.
It's
My only
possible.
concern is because obviously the king size first to ride.
Mhm.
Right.
And then that media
They-
day.
They have to do the king
Which-
size and media day before they soft open it.
Right.
I think we're
I
gonna
want
be
it to
looking
be
at like
days so
beginning of
bad.
June, maybe end of May.
I'm think-
Honestly.
I'm thinking for king size, we're either looking at first weekend of June, so like the second, third, and fourth, or the
Okay.
9th, 10th, and 11th.
And
Solid.
I need a way into that media day. I don't care what it takes. I
Same.
need a way in.
Same. Anyway, I should
Yeah,
probably get rolling.
All right.
But thank you guys. I'm so sorry. I really actually do want to stay.
You should. You can just listen.
I do have to go edit.
Boo.
I'm on an annoying video that takes really long. Unfortunately, it's just one of those 10-hour edits. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I
Like,
feel that. I just had one of
Yeah.
those.
yeah. It's not the most interesting. I don't know. It's a different video. It's mostly just kind of like a funny video. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, see you, Grant.
All
And
right.
then
See
Matt
ya.
and I
Thank
will
you
continue
guys
this.
again so much. And yeah.
Heck yeah! Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, no problem. And make
See
sure to
ya.
subscribe if you're coming from my channel. Make sure to subscribe to Michael and then follow Inept on Instagram. Both
Heck
awesome
yeah.
people.
Everything
And
linked
I
in the description, including Grant's channel and Matt's Insta, even though you
Mm-hmm.
guys have probably already been aware of where they are. But anyway.
All right. See you guys. Peace.
All right. Continuing the questioning segment of what happened, and this will be interesting because Matt and I were in different groups, so
Yeah,
banking
different
back and
questions popped up.
yeah, banking back and forth on what is what was asked is going to be a super interesting aspect of this. So I'll start. Another question that I asked was where is going the entrance going to be located, and I said, are we
Same
basically?
plot.
Yeah. I said basically. I asked him. I phrased it as, "Are we standing in the future entrance plaza?" And he said, "No, it's just going to be in the same spot, like right where that Wildcat little portal was.
Yeah,
That's where you're going to enter." Which I think will be super interesting to see how it interacts with the layout and whatnot.
and I don't know if he mentioned this to you because we asked like the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
or if he just repeated it or whatever. He said we were standing in the descent queue line,
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of makes me think that the descent is staying for this year's Hersheypark in the Dark or Dark Nights.
Yeah, I think Midway Misery. I think that entire
No,
aspect of the park.
Midway Misery staying. I know that
Yeah.
for a
I think
fact
that's because that's
because
what they advertised it as.
they
Um,
advertised the whole thing. They advertised Fryboy and all of them.
hmm I was at the park. I think it was for a meeting or something, and one of the girls, who seemed pretty high up there, she asked me, "You were at Dark Nights," and I was like, "Yeah." She knew I was a coaster enthusiast because of previous conversation and whatnot. She's like, "How could we make it better?" And I said that the consistency was probably my least favorite part, and I said, "I know it'd be hard, but just contain the scary part of Dark Nights to the water park." And I feel like you would just have
Yeah.
so much. You could have so much probability, or I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. You could have so much potential. There we go, to do
There we
something
go.
insane if you just converted, went all out, and made the entire water park this big scare zone with all the separate attractions in there, instead of having the kids zone in the water park.
My only concern is that obviously the kids zone, like you're gonna need that.
That would be the rest of the park, though.
Um, yeah, like they could do. I think it was 2020. They had like the entire like kids zone like scattered around the park,
Mm-hmm.
and then keeping it at least like the like scare zones or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
keeping that all contained in the side of the water park. That will help like people that don't actually want to get scared.
Yeah,
That'll help keep them away from it because you can just go
exactly.
around it.
And the water park is eerie. The water park is creepy. You
Yeah.
could just again have so much potential to make that so much better than it is. Like fill that place with scare actors. Maybe
Oh
drain one
yeah.
of the pools. Like imagine the wave pool is a set. You know what I mean?
Well, no, the wave pool already gets drained.
Yeah. So you just walk around the drain wave pool and like fogginess and there's a house built like over the ground of the wave pool. Like you already have flat land. You don't have to go searching for new land for these houses. You
Yeah,
have the haunted houses in the water park where the cabanas are. Maybe walk through the lazy river as an entire house. There's just
that
so
would be cool,
much
honestly.
potential with the water
Um,
park, I feel like.
One thing I do think is that like keeping it all contained in there, obviously when it does become like Dark Nights, that's gonna get really packed. I think their idea of like spreading all the houses and scare zones around is to keep everybody spread out around the park and not contained in one area.
While I do agree with you, I think if they did it right, I think that it could be.
Yeah.
So you've been to Field of Screams, right?
Oh yeah.
You know how you go to Field of Screams and you know how like you wait in line to get into the complex that is Field of Screams,
Yes.
and then you get in and it's like this big plaza and there's just random scare actors and that run around and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that if you
It
do
could be like
that,
that.
yeah. So what I think this would be the best way to do it is have one massive queue line to get into the water park, and then have the attractions. You basically once you get in line, you have to go through the attractions, right?
Okay.
But so basically, when you enter the water park, that's it. That's your ticket in. You're inside. You go through the first attraction, and then you hit the first opening, and that's like the Field of Screams complex where you're free to do whatever. And so like kind of
Yeah.
like the lazy river, like once you get in line for the lazy river and once you get in the lazy river, you can stay in the lazy river as long as possible. So you can stay in these
Hmm.
free zones as long as possible and then move on to the next scare zone or storytelling aspect of a house and then
Yeah.
just keep going to different like open areas where you can do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
I feel like
Uh,
logistically that's the best way to do that.
Keeping along the like topic of Dark Knights, one thing I there's a bunch of like misses that they could have fixed on. Like
Mhm.
I know it wasn't actual like Hershey people doing Dark Knight's acting. It was RWS.
Mhm. Yeah, there was a lot of outside people hired to do that.
Yeah. Um, but like Darkstone's Hollow, like that place was like empty. It was just fog.
There
Um,
needs to be a lot of work done on the acting and scare tactics because I
it was
explained this to her. I gave her an analogy. If Field of Screams is 100%, I'd say Dorney Park is at a solid like 72. Hersheypark is at a very very pathetic puny little 42 to 36 to 42.
yeah.
There's so much that needs to be improved on
It was
acting
towards
wise.
the start of Dark Knights, I believe. Um, I went to the Dorney haunt with some of my friends.
Mhm.
I saw I probably say there's about four Hershey higher ups all wearing Dark Knight's clothing.
Mhm.
And like
Good.
they were wearing their name tags and everything.
Good cuz Dorney's
And like
haunt is
oh, it's
fabulous.
great.
Dorney's Park
But
is so good. Haunt is
they were
so good.
standing around that like opening show right by a Hydra.
Mhm.
Like they were standing around in there like watching what was going on.
Good.
So I'm really hoping they're taking notes.
Yeah, we need to take pointers because honestly, Dark Knights was fun. It's kind of meant for maybe 10 to 15-year-olds.
It's meant for the whole family.
Yeah, even the haunted houses. People 18 plus, upper teens, not interested. I got scared twice, and that's because somebody jumped out in front of me and it was a jump scare. Like somebody
I
took
think
out like a haunted coal mine. Somebody's taking like a little lantern and banging it up against the wall. That you know what I mean? It got a
yeah.
physical reaction out of me. I did not feel scared once.
Um as much as I hated Twisted Darkness, the one room was like all like the monkey statues and you had the one actor.
That was cool.
He was so still.
He liked his job and he knew what he
He
was
really
doing.
did.
You
He knew
fill
exactly what to do.
you fill an entire staff list with that. You have a perfect hunt. You have something like Dorney.
Yeah, no.
Like the when I was there, the pathway of Thunderhawk is just filled with fog. And I remember I put my hand out in
Yeah.
front of me. You can't see your hand. And there's this like beheaded rabbit just running up and down the pathway and like you just hear him running past you and like it's actually
Uh
like
the,
oh crap, there's people around me and they're not my friends, they're actors and it's like this
and
is actually frightening.
the werewolf over by Demon Drop on like the bouncy stilts.
Mhm.
Like him just like running up and down. He was getting people.
Yeah, there were good parts of Dark Knights too. So
Oh yeah.
basically, they confirmed that Dark Knights is confirmed, and then
Dark Knights is confirmed.
we asked another question. I believe it was along the lines of it was opening summer 2023, and we couldn't tell if he were lying or not. He was lying or not. I don't know if your group did. Our group started laughing out loud, and he was like,
No,
"Yeah."
everyone keeps saying summer 2023.
But he said that, and we all started laughing, which made him laugh, and he's like, "Yeah, that's our official statement." And that was, I feel like that was just him, like, "Yeah, we're not telling you guys when it's opening. Like, stop asking us."
Yeah.
And it's not even
Like
that we don't know. It's just like that we aren't gonna tell you. Like, just knock it off.
they know when they want to open it because they told us. I don't know if they told you guys. Like
Oh,
they have a
really?
schedule when they have a schedule what
He
elements they need to get
briefly
done
mentioned the
when they need to
schedule.
get it done.
Yeah, he briefly mentioned the schedule, and he said that they were a little bit ahead. He said that they
Yeah,
were right on time
yeah.
to a little bit ahead. And mentioning the schedule, he he mentioned it to us. Basically, so speaking in the timeline of when the tour was, he said that the trains would be arriving later this month, which in present time that would mean that the trains are there.
Yes. He said the trains in the lift should be starting within like
A
about
month,
like two or
month and a
three,
half.
like a month and a half of each other.
Yeah. So that
And
means,
we've seen like there's already lift. There's a
yeah,
like beginning of the lift track there.
if he was right, that means that the lift should start in week and a half to like 2 weeks. And
So like right around when the park opens.
so this is interesting because thinking about that, you and I have been talking, and really the only element they have to get done before it would really be crucial for them to start the lift
Stall.
hill is the stall and then that little double down element behind the stall. Now we can't see anything unless you go up to the gardens, and honestly I haven't been up to the gardens, and I don't think any updaters have been up at the gardens to take pictures. That double down could very well be there.
Um, I know. I'm sure you've seen him around William Supco.
Mhm.
He was just up there yesterday.
Okay.
Let me find it. Yeah, yesterday.
Mhm.
So looking at it, the speed hill right after the underflip, there's
Completed.
this one more track segment
No,
is
it's completed.
needed. Oh, it's completed
Yeah,
now?
they finished it today. As of
Okay.
time of recording, of course.
Yeah. So that's done, and it doesn't look like anything else really changed. The wave turn looks done.
Mhm.
Uh, it went a little bit further, but
Yeah, they've been
it
adding slowly onto that wave turn. So the wave turn
it looks like it's
exits.
still just
The wave turn exits. Pops up and then does that little double down lateral turn thing, which will
yeah.
start the second half of the ride. Um. So, yeah, they are still making progress. They should be right on schedule then, according to what he said.
Yeah.
And he seems to be a pretty credible source.
We can hope.
Yeah. So, other than that, there are a bunch of other questions, and I'm sure as time goes on, and I'm sure as Matt and I still remember, maybe not even in this podcast, but just later on in life, I'm sure we'll mention, and those questions will see the light of day. But there are questions that looking back on it, I wish I would have asked, and I
Oh,
don't know if
definitely.
you have any of those, but a big one for me was how much did it cost? I want to know that. Um, and I want to know who designed it. I want to know if Alan designed it or if I want to know if the new guy designed it.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm thinking is that when did Alan stop designing?
Well, I think the
What was,
confusing
what was
thing,
his last project?
I don't know if it was Gwazi, but the confusing thing is when was this designed? Because if
I
it
would
was
I would
Gwazi,
think at
then
least like early last
that
year.
wouldn't make any sense. It could
I
have
would
it
think
could
like
have
early
been
last
this.
year.
I really want to know who designed this coaster. That that's me.
Because we know RMC has been on like they've been here before they even started this.
Yeah, they were
Like they've
here
been
for
here
quite a
countless
bit.
times.
I noticed maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was at Knoebels, and a guy was wearing a I thought this was funny, wearing a Hersheypark hat, a RMC T-shirt, and then a Tesla little jacket, and I'm like,
Oh my
this
God.
guy is up to something. And I think I told you this before. I told somebody this. Maybe it was Grant. He was taking pictures of Twister. And so that led me to think, what the hell is going on? Like, is this guy an enthusiast, or is he are we getting an RMC Twister? Like, I was confused. And so
Yeah.
maybe that was really when like Wildcat started, like that a year and a half, 2 years ago. You never know.
No, another thing that makes me wonder that Canol's has said countless times that they are performing maintenance on the helix of Twister.
Yeah, they had to like
Like
restructure
that
the entire helix, I think.
they're re-angling it,
Yeah.
so it's not as much stress
So
on the
it's not
track,
dangerous
and
either. Because
it's not gonna be as rough.
not only that, but you can I don't know if you ever heard in the certified speech that they're supposed to give when you exit Twister is please walk down the ramp as fast as you comfortably can, because if you stayed there you could touch the track, you could give the riders a high five, and that is a liability issue because of that helix.
Yeah. Um, I've talked to a few. I've talked to a few Knoll's employees, one ride operator and one maintenance guy. The
Mm-hmm.
maintenance guy was actually cool. I met him in line of Comet, but the employee, like, he said, like, no shame on Knoll's, like,
Mm-hmm.
they just have like very little liability.
Oh, dude, I could imagine.
Like they have like almost like no rules on that thing. Like this guy had like they walk all over the track, which you've seen
Yeah,
countless
there's
times, even
there's
just
guys
being there.
jumping across the track while they're running one train and there's nothing in the station.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they also don't have, and that's why their operations are so fast, and you can place bags wherever you want. I'm sure they don't have whatever the national insurance company is, which I know Great Adventure dropped in the past few years. Hershey picked up in the past few years. Um, and if you remember, like 7 or so years ago, especially at Skyrush, I remember vividly ride ops dispatching Skyrush from wherever they were in the station because the train was so big, and of course the style of restraint that it is, it was, you had to move around a lot, and I remember
Yeah.
vividly that those ops could dispatch anywhere in the station, and now they have to be on the black mat.
It's a black mat or a yellow taped square.
Yeah, yellow. Yeah, north I think it's an X. We have X's. Um,
It's X's everywhere.
yeah,
But like
there's X's everywhere.
you can specifically see it at like lap track when the unloaders that are like unloading.
Hmm.
There's that's their like tape square
Yeah,
or
in like the
X
middle of
or
the
whatever.
platform.
Yeah, they're like everywhere.
Hmm. Yeah, so basically, other than that, another good question was, are there going to be metal detectors? And
They said no.
they said no, which is a win. But my friend was like, "Why is that a win? Why are you guys all cheering?" Because our group was like, you could verbally hear that we were happy. They're like, he was like, "Well, why are you guys all so happy about that?" And I was like, basically, it's just you might have a different thought than me, but my thought is, I think they're annoying because it literally requires you to it's just a hassle to take everything out and put it in a locker. But being at a park where you have to pay for a locker, which is not Hershey, talking more about like Cedar Fair, Six Flags parks,
Yeah.
it's annoying to just have put everything in a locker, and you that's one more thing you have to remember, and it basically it's fact checking you and making sure that you don't have anything on you. But also, it's gonna help with operations too, not having metal detectors. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I know. So I was there with another employee. We were somewhat happy about the metal detectors, but we're wondering because there's lockers. Um, is it going to be like a locker attendant there all the time, or is it
Yeah.
going to be like a
A
ride
write up
operator?
that we have to communicate.
Because
Which also, don't
it
mean to
can't be a
interrupt.
clerk.
Yeah, don't mean to interrupt. Yeah, it can't be a clerk. So that's going to
It
take even
can't.
more staffs. There's so much we could talk about here. We could be here for, I mean, we're already, what,
We
like
could
an
be here
hour
for
in?
so
We
long,
could be here for
like an
another
hour.
2 hours.
Like
I think that wraps up this section about the tour. For you guys unaware, this was like a weekend of events. So basically, what happened the next day after the tour was a yearly occurrence called East Coaster, which, again, like I described at the beginning and what Matt said, is just something hosted by Hersheypark, kind of like presentations and whatnot, hosted by the surrounding parks. And you can buy in, get there, they feed you lunch. It's like an all day thing, 12
yeah,
hours. It's a huge event. Um, that happened the day after the tour, and Matt got to attend. So, what was that like? I almost attended and then I didn't. I'm kind of
you
sad
really
I
should have.
I sad I didn't, but in the moment it seemed like the right option to not attend.
It was honestly really fun. Yeah, it's like this huge event that's hosted in the Music Box Theater, so it's like heated and everything.
And for those of you who don't know, that's like right where the mini swings are, right across from the monorail, right beside the pirate ship, big pirate ship.
Reese's Cup Fusion.
Yeah, around that area of the park, right
Um,
across from Chick-fil-A.
yeah, the event didn't kick off until 10, but there was social hour from 9 to 10. The parks that participated, obviously Hersheypark, Dino's Wonder Wheel, Dorney Park, GCI, Dollywood, and then we had a lunch break. And then Ace kicked off like after lunch break, just like saying like thank you for coming and whatnot. Here's what
Mhm.
to expect from us, and like congratulating like people on like advancements to the volunteer.
Mhm.
Six Flags Fiesta Texas, which they did a lot, and I'll get into that.
Mhm.
Sesame Place, Dutch Wonderland, Knoebels, and then we ended off with PTC,
Okay.
which they were really good closers.
Yeah, not only that, but stacked lineup.
Oh yeah,
All of those people, all of those parks giving their own pretty big, from what I could tell, presentation about everything.
oh yeah. Like what they've been up to, like what to expect from them this coming season.
Yeah. Like what they're building, and this is like an inside talk, like presentation of like
Yeah.
their own personal media day all in one at Hersheypark, which is pretty neat.
So I'm just gonna go in order here from what I remember. Hershey, they didn't really do much. They just kind of talked about ride anniversaries and whatnot. It's like Coal Cracker, Great Bear, I believe is turning 25.
I think you're right.
Yes.
Not only that, they released one of the crappiest animated ride POVs ever.
Um, they're taking questions like mid session. Um, and somebody asked when we're getting a ride POV for Wildcat. They they love saying stay tuned on everything.
hmm
Probably about like not even 5 minutes later. All right, guys. So here's a POV of the new Wildcats Revenge roller coaster. So I'm taking everything that Hershey says of stay tuned as yes.
Yeah, basically.
Dino's Wonder Wheel, they did a little bit. They were talking about like the permits and whatnot they had to go through for their, correct me if I'm wrong, the SLC.
hmm
Trying to go through New York's COVID
hmm
regulations when it comes to building stuff. It was a whole thing.
Which again just brings up the logistics of building something. Like, you don't look at a roller coaster and think, oh, that was just plopped here. You know what I mean? Like these things take time
Yeah,
and planning and money and are built. And another thing is just like the amount of people that think that there's only one roller coaster manufacturer is
it's
crazy.
crazy.
It's insane, and they just think that they're objects that you just build like
Plop
Legos.
down.
Which I mean,
Like it's they act like it's like Roller Coaster Tycoon or like the
yeah,
prefabs and uh Planet Coaster.
yeah. So it's super interesting, and so hearing the logistics of that and real life stories and real life problems and
What all goes into it?
yeah, yeah, and what's the word, obstacles, real life
Yes.
obstacles is just it's interesting to hear about. So yeah, what else happened?
Moving on to Dorney Park, they knew what we all wanted to know, and you can probably guess it. The 2024 plans. May I let you know, Ryan, their head social media PR guy, he loves playing games. Mm.
Yeah, I heard their little tactics they were using.
Yeah, they love to play games. They
They were
showed like,
playing a mean game.
but they would not answer anything. And like people were over here like playing games like everyone knows it's a B&M at this point. Oh, is it gonna be big and massive? But emphasizing big and massive for B&M.
hmm I heard that they did let one loose. Somebody else who attended the event, they said like diving into the next picture or something like that.
Yes.
They let on something there, and that just, oh, that would make me smile, but that would just drive me up a wall.
Yeah. Um, they also confirmed because I know there was rumors floating around. Possessed is not going anywhere,
Good,
and they're trying to get the holding break back.
even better.
Next up was GCI. Really, all they talked about was like their Titan track and the whole MBZ Singer stuff.
Dude, that looks like a sleeper hit. That coaster. Oh my gosh,
It kind of does, yeah.
that looks so cool. It looks like the spaghetti bowl of Voyage, and that
Yeah.
attracts me so much.
But other than that, he didn't really talk about that much.
hmm
Dollywood, they talked about Big Bear. They shared some construction progress.
Which they're flying. I mean, I don't know when they started. That kind of was like, um, that was like unannounced and kind of
Yeah.
undocumented. I feel like maybe in the
I mean, it's
Dollywood community, I'm sure that was well documented. But they
oh
got
yeah,
that up quick. They got that up quick, and now they're starting rock work. I saw too.
yeah. They're starting like rock work and all that.
I'm interested in knowing when that opens because I want to know if I'm going to be able to ride it or not.
May I believe they said.
Damn
They
it,
didn't give an exact date, but they said May.
that sucks. I'll miss it by like 2 weeks.
They gave out like free prizes or whatever.
hmm
They gave out a bumper sticker for your car that said Bear Tracker 1,
That's cool.
which I believe says on the back of the like very back car for Big Bear Mountain.
Yeah, I think it has a bumper sticker or something.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and so it is that, but it's in like the shape of like Tennessee, so it's like really cool.
Yeah, that's
And
pretty
then
neat.
they also gave out gummy bears, but they labeled it as Big Bear Mountain gummy bears.
I love gummy bears. I'm a sucker for gummy bears.
Oh
I would
yeah,
eat those.
that ended out like the first part of it.
Hmm.
It's like after lunch and whatnot, Ace presented and whatnot, just congratulate people of the volunteer and whatnot, how they got like promoted and whatnot.
Hmm. They also did CoasterCon, right? They announced that or gave further details.
CoasterCon is they gave further details about their other events like Ace Flies, clowning around, and CocoCon.
Hmm.
They really just talked about that and whatnot. Six Flags Fiesta Texas.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, this is a hefty one.
Yeah,
So
hefty indeed.
they started off talking about the spaghetti bowl. Now, like a comic kid flash or whatever.
Hmm.
And they also talked about the new like kids area for uh the Hurricane Harbor.
Hmm.
This was completely unannounced to us, but it was a doozy. Um,
Yeah, that's a perfect way of describing it,
oh
honestly.
yeah, nobody knew what to expect. Um, how do I even put this into words? They started giving out like envelopes as everybody got them and started to open it. Uh, they showed out that they were giving out a bundle of one park admission ticket available for all of 2023 and a fast track for every major coaster.
That is effing nuts.
Doing the
For
math,
free
that's about $115 in value.
per ticket. And people were walking out of there with like 4 or 5 tickets.
Yeah, no, like people that didn't want them, like they're just like, here, do you want this?
Dude, I mean,
It
right
was,
there, basically, with everything mentioned, that like triples. You're getting paid triple the amount you paid to attend
oh
this
yeah,
meet. I mean, Fiesta Texas is no park to scoff at either. Yes,
no,
getting to Texas from Central PA is like a bit of a challenge, but you're
yeah, I
looking at
probably won't
one.
get down there.
You're looking at like a top three Six Flags park.
And you open it up, you get an admission ticket, January 1st through the 2023 through December 31st, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Gives the address of the park, and then it gives you a one-time fast track for Dr. Diabolicals, Daredevil Dive, the Joker, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and Iron Rattler.
Iron Rattler. Oh my gosh, that would be. Are you planning on going?
If I could,
Whew.
I really want to.
Yeah, that's a trip you can
Um,
stay optimistic about. And working this summer too. Save up. I
yeah.
would go to their haunt.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. So then moving on, Knoebels.
Next. Ooh, this one was the stuff they were auctioning
Knoebels,
off from what I hear was pretty
Knoebels
cool.
was a good one.
I love
Um,
Knoebels.
oh,
Like
absolutely.
who doesn't love Knoebels? If you don't love Knoebels, you're the issue. It's not Knoebels.
They talked about Twister and whatnot. They talked about the Haunted Mansion's 50th being this year,
Mm-hmm.
like all the like food items and whatnot. The motor boats, the roof is
Okay.
getting replaced.
Yeah, well, I mean it needs to be.
It needed to
It
be.
needs to be.
Then they started auctioning off three pieces of the Haunted Mansion electrical track.
That's neat.
We were kind of nudging my dad to do it, and he got second place bid. So they went like highest bidder, second bidder, and like
Mm-hmm.
third bidder. Basically, just went like, okay, first place you get to choose, second place you get to choose, third place you get left in the scraps.
Yeah.
Like they're all the same size.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad currently has a piece of the haunted mansion track just sitting in his room.
Epic, bro. Epic.
Yeah. After that, they were auctioning off a certificate for a maintenance tour to do on the Phoenix. You have to be 18 plus for it. So basically, you would wax the tracks, you would walk the track, make sure everything's okay.
The amount of money that I would pay, and I told you this, the amount of
Oh
money
yeah,
I would pay for that is like ungodly. I would go upwards of $500,000 to do that. I mean, I don't know
oh
how much
god,
people paid for it, but
I forget how much I went for. But like you got to walk the track and everything. It was
you
crazy.
basically got trained on how to inspect Phoenix.
Yeah.
And the thing with Knobles is, you know what you're buying. It's never too high of a price because you're just gonna get more than you bargained for.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
they can promise all they want. You're gonna do double that. Like the workers at Knobles, they're basically gonna force you to do it. You're probably just gonna be on Phoenix alone. Like
Yeah.
that's just how Knobles rolls, and that's that. Like I'm not trying to give him a bad rap or anything, but that's just like that's the reality of it. So that's
That's
just
just
like
the Knoebels thing.
so cool.
But then they also bargained in that you could be not only the first rider of the day, you could be the official test rider for the Phoenix that day.
And then end up being the operator for the rest of the day because the workers don't care.
One of the door prizes was a piece of wood from the Phoenix. Oh, but it said like Phoenix. It said Phoenix, like the logo, and it said
Mhm.
Knoebels.
Yeah.
And then on the back it was it said CoasterCon 43, which I was kind of surprised about this because I didn't know. It was Hersheypark, Dutch Wonderland, Dorney Park, and Knoebels. But that's what's on the back. I was actually able to get the piece of wood also signed by the three of them, which honestly just made my day.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
But that was basically everything they really talked about. The event was supposed to end at 6, but we didn't get till closer to like 6:30 ish.
Yeah, I mean that's what from 10 to 6. That's
Yeah,
8 hours, 8.5.
yeah.
I mean, if you include social hour, that's 9 hours. That's a pretty big day. You guys,
Oh yeah.
something you mentioned. You ate lunch in the Coaster Cafe, which is the
Yes.
official employee lounge of Hershey Park. So kind of neat that you got to see that.
I mean, obviously I'm an employee there.
Yeah,
Honestly, the places look really cool though.
yeah, it's pretty neat inside of there, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's bigger than what you think from the outside too.
Oh yeah. Like it's huge. That's mainly what we did at East Coaster. It was a lot of stuff, a few dull moments at times, but it was really good. I actually won a silent auction. It was for like a random part of a coaster. I forget what it was. One part I was also going for that I unfortunately lost. It was a chain dog, which I was really hoping for, but just didn't win it. Kind of salty about it, but it is what it is. Maybe next year. But from what I was able to tell, like everybody had a great time.
Oh my
Nobody
gosh,
walked out
it
like
seemed like
upset.
a blast, and again, I wish I would have gone. And the people I know 3 or 4 people, not including you, who went. They're all like, "Why the hell weren't you there?" And I was like, "Ugh, I don't know,
Yeah.
man." They're like, "Yeah, look at all this crap I got," and I'm like, "Yeah, so I should have gone." Like, okay, come on, stop putting it in my face, basically.
Yeah, no. It was a really good time.
Yeah, and so is this podcast, and I think that we are getting to the point where, for the greater good of both of us, stop
Good.
rambling on, and I have to edit this and get it out within, I would hope, 12 hours, and I don't know if it's gonna happen, but well, anyway, um, my lord, yeah. So basically, this podcast is now the longest running episode of Coaster Talk, and if you guys
Yeah.
have made it this far, you guys are
Congrats.
wonderful. You guys are, uh insane. I love each and every one of you, and yeah, comment the number, I don't know, 8 if you made it this far. And so basically, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I'm freaking tired. I'm sure Matt over here is tired. Grant has been on now and for like
And probably
almost
went to
every
bed
episode.
already.
This is Matt's first episode. Probably will be on a couple more times cuz
Oh
why
yeah,
not?
probably.
I want to bring this podcast back. It's been over a year since we've done an episode. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Complete in-depth one-on-one conversation in podcast form that I've had with people who went on the tour and how the tour went and what the experience was like. Also somebody who experienced East Coaster, what that entire tour was like. So Matt, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button and subscribe. If you made it this far, clearly you've enjoyed it. So, comment down below. I want to know what you guys thought about this one. All right. Until next time.